For the best selection of retro gaming products at unbeatable prices, make sure you visit StoneAgeGamer.com.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Rich of Review Tech USA, and no, don't rub your eyes. Tonight we're actually going to take a look at, finally, the At Games Sega Genesis Gopher portable player. Now, there are a lot of portable Sega Genesis clone consoles on the market, but the trick that the Gopher has up its sleeve is that it has an SD card slot, which allows you to play Firecore games and allows you to download ROMs off the internet and play them on this portable. But is that enough for the Gopher to stand out above the rest? Let's find out. Okay, let's take a tour of the box real quick. It has a 2.8-inch color QVGA LCD display, which, oh boy, we'll talk more about that later. And like I said, it has the SD card slot, so you can play Firecore games. Those are games that At Games is supposed to develop and release for all the portable Sega Genesis clone systems and their home Sega Genesis clone consoles. They haven't talked about them too much, but they still advertise it. And like I said, you could download ROMs off the internet, put them on the SD card, and play them on this system. It also comes with 20 built-in licensed Sega games. Ones that stand out are Revenge of Shinobi 3, Golden Axe, Sonic & Knuckles, and Shadow Dancer. It has a lot of other good games on here too. Once again, these are actual licensed Sega games, not run-of-the-mill aftermarket clone games. Over here it shows you all the features of the Gopher on the back of the box, but I'm going to show you those features, so I'm not going to zoom in on this picture. And they actually, At Games always makes awesome boxes for their clone consoles. Like, they're almost better than if you go out and buy a PSP or a Nintendo DS. It's a well-made box. It sounds dumb to talk about, but they really do. It almost looks like a cigar box. Like, there we go. So let's crack this open and see what the unit comes with. Piece of foam, exciting. Obviously, you could say I use this. That's why I'm reviewing it. And that's the unit itself, but let's see the accessories it comes with first. It comes with AV cables because this can hook up to your television. Unfortunately, it's only mono sound. Has a really good picture, but sound, yeah, that's another thing we'll talk about in a minute. This unit does have a built-in lithium-ion rechargeable battery, and you use your computer to charge up the Gopher, which is pretty sweet. All you have to do is plug this into any USB port of any computer made in the past 13 to 15 years. It takes about an hour to charge the unit, and you are ready to go. I wish they actually gave you an AC adapter, but if you're watching this video, you obviously have a computer, and if you have a computer, you have a USB port, so you can charge this. So I'm not going to take off too many points for that one. Pull this out real quick. And there is your instruction manual. Honestly, even if you're a tech novice, you're not going to need this manual. There's only one thing that you would need to know, and I'll explain that to you in this video. So, nice they give it to you, but not really necessary. Okay, so let's take a look around the Gopher itself. Here is your directional pad. Very responsive directional pad. It's not mushy. I like the fact that it's all one piece of plastic. A lot of the earlier Sega Genesis clone consoles would have like this plastic split in half, so you'd have the up and right directional be one piece of plastic and the left and bottom be another piece of plastic, and it made playing fighting games impossible. My only beef with this directional pad is it's a little too small. So what'll happen is when you're playing platformers like Castlevania Bloodlines, you're looking to walk forward, and I have, you know, big fat gorilla thumbs, and I'll go to walk forward and I end up like hitting here and he ends up ducking and I get killed or hit. So I wish they made it a little bit bigger. Like, actually, like, see where that orange is? If they made it that size, I'd be happy, but it's not bad. It's one of the best directional pads on these clone consoles, but unfortunately that's not saying much if you tried other ones. The buttons have a good tactile feel. They're not mushy. My only problem is that the X, Y, and Z buttons are a little too small. And what happens is when you're playing like Street Fighter or Super Street Fighter, is that when you're going like this, you'll accidentally hit the bottom button, or you'll just, your thumbs will go between the two buttons, and it's kind of a little bit frustrating. Once again, the best 6-button layout I've seen, but like I just said before, that's not saying much because a lot of these clone consoles have horrible buttons. But like I said, very good feedback. They're not mushy at all, so I can't really complain. Over here you have your menu button, so if you're in a game, you could actually reset it and pick a new game, which is pretty sweet because like I said, it comes with 20 built-in licensed Sega games, and on top of it, you have games on your SD card, so if you want to switch to a different game because you're bored, you can do it with the click of one button. There is your start and pause button over here. On top of the unit, that is your power light and charge light, which will be red when you're charging. When charge is complete, it's green, and when the unit is on, it also lights up as well. There is the USB port where you charge the Gopher. That is your AV out. This is your SD card slot. where you put the SD card in. The thing I wanted to tell you is that when you put ROMs on an SD card, you have to make a folder first on here on your computer called Game. If you don't, this unit will not find the ROMs and you will go crazy like I did when I first did it. I had to look at the instruction manual for that. So that's the one thing you actually needed the instruction manual for. Make sure you have a folder on the SD card called Game. If you don't, it will not find the ROMs that you put on the SD card. Also, the Gopher will only recognize .bin files. So any kind of ROMs you have for Sega Genesis games that are not .bin, it won't see those either. There's your volume control for the horrendous speaker on here. I mean, it's actually plenty loud, but halfway up, it's just almost complete distortion. Some games it's better than others, but pretty shoddy speaker on here. On the bottom here, you have your power switch, and on the back, and I thought this was pretty nice because this unit's only $45 on StoneAgeGamer.com. A lot of times they'll have a lithium-ion battery and it's not replaceable. So once the lithium-ion battery in a lot of these clone consoles goes bad, that's it. This thing is useless unless you just want to hook it up to your USB port and power it that way. This, all you have to do is take out the screw, get a new lithium-ion battery, and boom, you're ready to go. And it's not a proprietary battery. You could find the batteries this uses anywhere. So all in all, the unit's very comfortable. It actually kind of feels like a miniaturized PSP in your hands. Ergonomically, it's great. But now let's go into the shortfalls of the Gopher. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the screen. You would think in the year 2011 to make a 2.8-inch LCD display on one of these portable consoles wouldn't be a big deal. It'd be very easy to do, right? So when I first got this unit, I'm sitting there, I'm playing a couple games on it. I'm like, why do my eyes feel so weird? And I just couldn't put my finger on it. What was wrong with the screen? And what I figured out was when I closed one eye and left the other eye open is that the viewing angle on this is so bad that you're actually seeing two different levels of brightness in both of your eyes. So like one eye is seeing darker and the other eye is seeing brighter. And I thought maybe it was a defect with this unit. So I called up Ryan from Stone Age Gamer and he tried another Gopher at his shop and it did the same thing. So most games, it's tolerable, but it almost has like a 3D effect. Like if you have 3D mode on a 3DS, like you have to look at the screen dead on. If you don't, it'll really mess with your eyes, especially games with like a lot of blue where they have a dark blue background. Like in one eye, it'll look black, in the other eye, it'll look blue, and man, it'll mess with your vision. And unfortunately, that's a really big thing. It's a portable console and the screen has to be good. And this one barely passes. It's not a deal breaker, but it's pretty close to it. I'll see if I can make it happen on my camcorder. And yeah, you see, yeah, there you go. You see how bad the viewing angle is on that? Now it's much worse in person. I have to tilt it a lot more for the camcorder, but in person, your eyes will be much more sensitive to it, and it becomes a big problem with some games. Most games are tolerable, but there's some games it is really bad with. And the second thing I want to talk about is the sound, beyond the distortion. I want to play a game here right now, but I have some footage recorded upstairs on my capture device, and I'm going to show you in this review so you can hear the sound up close. The sound emulation on this is terrible. And there's a lot of other Sega Genesis clone consoles that have the same issue, but it's just not tolerable anymore. These have been out for a lot of these clone consoles have been out for a couple of years now, and you would think they would have fixed the issue, and they haven't. Let's play some Alien Storm. I could show you what I mean. This game, it's tolerable, but with the footage I have recorded, I'm going to show you how bad the sound can be. So let's turn this off, go upstairs to my capture device, and show you some gameplay from the Gopher.
Rise from your grave.
Rise from your grave. As everyone knows, this is Altered Beast for the Sega Genesis, and this game actually plays fairly well on the Gopher. Now, the sound isn't accurate. It's actually a lower pitch than it would be on actual Sega hardware, but it's tolerable. It is a little bit distorted because the sound output on the Gopher, like I said, isn't great. But the sound emulation on this game isn't horrible. It's not going to make your ears bleed like other games do. I'll let you take a listen for a second. Like I said, looks really good, sounds okay, not a bad game to play on the Gopher. Let's check out another title. Isn't that music so soothing to your ears? Sarcasm intended. Obviously, this is Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. It looks fine, but just listen to the music. Yeah. Do I need to say any more? Game looks great, but sounds horrible. Let's check out Super Street Fighter 2. Do I even need to say anything? This is Super Street Fighter 2 for the Sega Genesis, and did you hear how bad the intro sounded? The game itself plays fine. The directional pad in the Gopher actually lends itself well to Super Street Fighter, but the music emulation is so bad, the sounds are actually off-key, and due to the horrific sound quality, it makes the game unplayable. Take another listen. The Genesis emulator from the late 90s did a better job with Sega Genesis sound than the Gopher does. Let's bring this review home so I can give you my final verdict.
So, final verdict time. Is the Gopher worth your hard-earned money? Sadly, I'm gonna have to say no. It's tough not to recommend this device because it feels great in your hands, it has the SD card slot, and it's the most feature-packed portable console out there on the market. But due to the horrid sound emulation and very mediocre LCD display, I can't give the Gopher a thumbs up. You're better off getting an emulator for your Android smartphone, or just getting an emulator for your netbook, laptop, or PC. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rich of ReviewTech USA. For more gaming and technology reviews, go to ReviewTechUSA.com. Thank you for watching.